Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet Sky FF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And we had another week where we've got all the fixtures. We got them on Thursday in the end yesterday after the main Sky show. Cheeky little Sky extra time for the patrons that we have. And then some planning on Friday night, Saturday morning. It took longer than I thought it would to plan it out with the permutations, combinations. But all in all, I had a decent weekend, as did you.
Yeah, it wasn't, the game week itself wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But yeah, green arrow, if you will. I don't know if you can call that a fucking term in Sky or not, actually. But into top 2K now, 99 points. Feels like it's not the first time this season that I've ended on 99 points.
Yep.
Gators 8 points, kind of laughably, but actually the fact that he's picked up kind of 16 points across the
compared
two games.
To PVAs and anyone.
It wasn't
Palace,
the worst. The problem was I obviously have had him since the fucking overhaul period, right? So actually it's been shit on the overhaul. He obviously got binned for Martinez on Monday night. That's not looked like a masterstroke at the moment, has it? But we'll come back on to that.
Get in West Ham. Minus points for conceding 2 goals.
Jurgen Klopp decided that he thought it would be a good idea to play Nat Phillips at Brighton. So Joel Matip, which looked a wonderful move this time last week.
Yeah. I was going to ask, how's your tip?
Went in the bin. I actually knew. The good news for me was it didn't come as a shock. I kind of got wind Friday night that he wasn't in the Liverpool team. So I had time to think about what I was going to do.
Did you sell him or have you kept him?
No, I kept him.
Yeah, I thought so.
Robertson 4-pointer. Stuart Dallas 7-pointer. Gabriel 10-pointer. KDB was captain Saturday. Jack Grealish, obviously, 13-pointer Monday. Bruno was captain Sunday. Who did I captain Saturday? Oh, yeah, KDB. Bruno Sunday. Gator Friday. Monday, I bought in Jamie Vardy for Harry Kane, which didn't really work out in the sense that, obviously, Jack Grealish will outscored him, and I know a lot of people would have been dead sort of captain Grealish.
But
Calvert-Lewin and Bamford blank. So the fact that I had 4 strikers and only an assist between them and still got to 99, I guess really I should take that.
I had an interesting week. Sterling didn't play, and I'd really been banking on Sterling coming in and tearing it up. And I can't, again, sell him again before Fulham. He's sticking around still. Patricio blanked. He just got me a 2-pointer. Everybody else in my side, other than Harry Kane, who I moved on, and Eze, who I was going to bin after Friday anyway, returns. So Vardy, 14 points. Kevin De Bruyne as captain with 16. Romeu got me his tier points. Grealish cleaned up. Fernandes cleaned up. Gabriel cleaned up. Dallas cleaned up. Robertson even got tier points. Zuma got tier points and a clean sheet. So across the board, it was decent. And on top of that, I feel like my squad's in a good shape and a good position for me to adapt, change. I've got options in terms of where I go, in terms of my transfers. And I'm reasonably well set up for the next few weeks now. I ended up, obviously, Eze moved on and Lamptey moved on. Lamptey had to go. And I brought in Romeu and Zuma as the 2 to replace him. Romeu's just going to be the 4-pointers every week, but at 6.9 million, I don't care. He can tick along nicely.
I don't think he's going to be 4-pointers every week. What was really funny, just to give the listeners a bit of an insight.
Points been consistent.
You phoned me Saturday morning. And
I'd spent 2 hours
spieling what you're playing with. I'm glad you spent 2 hours because I spent about 8 hours on mine. What day did the fixture? Friday night after Palace Newcastle, I finally got to sit down on it. I went to bed at 4:00, mate.
Yeah.
You phoned me Saturday morning and you started going on about Romeo for about a whole minute. And I was like, Suj, you don't stop having to justify why you want to buy Oriol Romeo. He's in my plan as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Zuma's looking
I
like a good shout at 7.8 million as well. I think Zuma's a decent option.
Of course he is. He's regularly going to hit passing tiers and that. So for a side that obviously is really solid defensively, now they've got Mendy in. The only thing is obviously, as I kind of said on the main podcast that we done earlier this week, is they've had fixtures like Burnley, Palace, Newcastle, where you would have expected the clean sheet to come with the passing tiers.
Yeah.
And these fixtures that come up don't look the worst, but sides like Leeds, Everton, Wolves, West Ham, Arsenal, Villa, Man City, that's the next 7. They could concede in all of them, right? So
yeah,
I think he's pretty strong for the passing tiers in probably 4 of those games, I would say. I think with Chelsea, the real entry point on Chelsea, if you haven't got one though, is obviously when they play yourselves. They play West Ham on the Monday in match week 14, where
still
they
a bit
play
of a way
Monday,
away.
then on the Saturday against match week 15. So I'm holding off for Chelsea till then. That's an obvious game there, is to go for Chelsea then.
Yeah. Now, we did get the fixtures, both like we've mentioned that we did plan out our strategy. Part of that strategy involved moving off Jack Grealish after Friday. That game's now been postponed. We don't know when it is going to get replayed yet, do we?
You say your strategy. I had no intention to sell Jack Grealish.
Oh, you were going to keep him, were you?
Yep.
I was moving off Jack Grealish and then coming back to Jack Grealish in match week 13 when they play Burnley, I think, is it?
On the Thursday.
Yeah. And in between, I would have got 3 fixtures of Antonio, for example. So I was happy to do that.
You've basically got, yes, obviously, Grealish you could come off and then go back for the Burnley game. You miss Wolves. And it's coming up with Bruno this Saturday as well, where you can sell him on Sunday or Monday. You miss Man City, and then you go back to him also on that same day, the Thursday, when they play Sheffield United. So those are the real obvious ones this weekend. What I would say on Villa assets, and I've obviously got 2 now. I've got Grealish and Martinez. Think of it like this. If your plan was to sell him after the game, still sell him. If your plan was to keep him after the game, still keep him.
Yep.
The fact that the game is postponed shouldn't make any difference to your plan. You can't change that you didn't have the information. If you bought him on Monday, for example, and you're frustrated, listen, he's probably got you 26 points or so. If you were going to sell him, sell him. If you were going to keep him, keep him. So from that perspective, it makes no difference to the plan. He would have been hugely captained this game week anyway, and it would have just been a case of just swim with everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to making
it doesn't make a lot of difference. The bigger thing to say, which is probably more important, at the time of recording Wednesday morning, we believe Newcastle can't go back to the training ground on Friday. The only midweek between now and 2021 that the game could be played is next midweek, i.e. this time next week, for example.
And
I think
I don't
the chance
see
of
how,
that happening, it's not going to happen.
If you've got to isolate for 2 weeks, and now is when they're postponing the game, and they would have found out about a lot of these cases in the last 3 or 4 days. How it can be played in the middle of next week, I don't know, unless everybody takes a test. And if you've got a positive test, you piss off. They clean and sanitize the entire place, and everybody else is tested every day until now in the middle of next week. Seems a bit crazy.
Because of that, essentially, and the fact that their opponents for Villa is Newcastle, that game can be played anytime. It could be played in January, where there's 3 midweeks, particularly obviously Newcastle in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals. If they lose to Brentford, then the game in theory could be played first midweek of January, which is, I think it's January the 5th or something like that, for example. It could be then. You've obviously got the match week 18 is going to split, where half those midweek fixtures are going to be played the following midweek in match week 19. We can assume there's loads of games there in Sky. It could just fall into one of those 2 weeks. It could fall further down the line in February on a Champions League last 16 night, for example. So that game can go anywhere. There is zero sense in rushing to rearrange it. It just means that because Villa have got to play Man City as well, you're going to get a little bit of a backlog probably, because that's obviously their rearranged game from game week 1. What it might happen is that suddenly you walk into January and Villa have got 2 more fixtures than 16 other teams.
Yeah.
So for me, there's no change in the plan. What we don't know, and we're hoping we're going to find out this week, because I saw they replied to somebody, the Sky Twitter account, or not that you should ever trust anything they say, but they did kind of instigate that there would likely be a decision on when the overhaul is this week.
Yes.
We'll probably still be asking questions in 2 weeks, knowing them.
Yeah.
I think probably some point in February. There's loads of weeks where they can go into and it should be absolutely fine. I suspect things like this, the Villa Newcastle, makes them nervous, because what they don't want is a situation they had last year where they announced it and then, was it City West Ham went into that week and they had to move it, or West Ham Liverpool, one of them went into the week they was going to organise, and then it just threw everything for them. So I think they're conscious of that, but it's December. We really should know now, because this is important. Certainly by the time we know the January TV fixtures, we need to know when that deadline's going to be. Because in theory, it could drop quite early in January, though I don't think it will.
No, I agree with you. So interesting now. I mean, when do you think we'll get the January fixtures?
Next couple of weeks. I don't think, I mean, 2 weeks from today's the 16th, Friday the 18th. I don't think it'll be any later than that. The worst, I think.
Sure. Let's do what we do each and every week: is have a look at our captaincy coverage for the next weekend, which now doesn't include the Friday night fixture, although Jack Grealish had the armband provisionally. On the Saturday, what are you thinking here? You've got Fulham for Manchester City. You've got West Ham
It's very
for
straightforward.
Manchester United.
I think KDB would be massively captained because he's obviously had another break again last night in the Champions League. So it seems really straightforward. Obviously, look, Bruno is an amazing alternative. He's the fullback if you're feeling nervous about it. But City are through in the Champions League, so they can rest KDB in midweek again next week. There's no need for him to play. So there's unless he said to KDB, take a couple of weeks off, and Guardiola kind of instigates that's what he's done, there is no reason why KDB won't play against Fulham. So he'll get the armband on Saturday.
Yep, agreed. On the Sunday, a little bit more choice here. I'm sticking with Jamie Vardy. I mean, when I brought him in on the Monday, I knew I was going to captain him against Sheffield United as well. Although I do have Robertson, Gabriel, Patricio, but I think I'm just going to stick with Jamie Vardy.
Well, at the moment, I'm planning to make 2 transfers on Sunday, which might change depending on anything that happens injury-wise. For example, if Robertson's definitely ruled out of Sunday, for example, it might change my plans. The plan at the moment on Sunday is Bruno to Salah. We've spoken about the Bruno Grealish 3-for-1s. This is the one I've decided to take the gain on.
Yeah.
To do Bruno to Salah, I also need to do Calvert-Lewin to Romeo. Now, that's not ideal because obviously Romeo doesn't play till the Monday. But the conclusion that I came to on sort of captaincy for coverage of Southampton Brighton was, I'm not bothered about it. I think probably the ideal choice would have been to sort of chain like Gator to McCarthy or something like that. But I came to the conclusion that I needed to do this kind of hopping around of Bruno and Salah of what I've got planned over the next 3 or 4 weeks. I needed another midfield player. I needed a shit midfield player to go in there. And I actually came to the conclusion that sort of under 7 million, Romeo was the best choice. Mm-hmm. So it kind of falls. It gives me the Monday captaincy. Buying him on the Sunday before I get the team is not ideal, but it obviously allows me to get Salah in Sunday, possibly captain him. If Romeo didn't play at Brighton on the Monday, it would be for no reason other than COVID. I mean, it's literally no rotation risk whatsoever at this sort of period. So, yeah, there'll be Romeo Monday. I probably will captain Salah on Sunday, I think. But I could easily fall back to Vardy as well. But I'll probably go Salah.
Yeah. What's your transfer plan for the weekend? Because again, like I mentioned, I
just told you.
That's it, just the one. You're not planning anything
2 transfers.
Oh, sorry, you're going to have to burn 2.
Salah to Bruno, DCL to Romeo.
And that's it. And then you're set for a couple of weeks, or you think you'll make moves again?
It leaves me plenty of money in the bank. What the next idea I've got, I don't mind talking you through this, is I've got enough then in the bank with this plan to go Dallas to Diaz after Leeds play West Ham on the Friday and Man City play Man United on the Saturday. It's not ideal to be going into Diaz when they play Manchester United. I guess he could be rotated this week, but it's the best entry point for me that I can find.
You get West Brom just a few days later.
Exactly. There's no good entry points. And to be honest, if Diaz plays against Man, he'll hit passing tier. It's not a problem. He's going to hit passing tier nearly every game. So I don't think I don't feel this Saturday coming or the last Saturday gone, it would have been worthwhile me forcing him in. I obviously debated, and I didn't, to be honest, if I'd had enough to go Matip to Diaz on Saturday, I might have done it, knowing that Matip wasn't going to play. But I didn't have enough to do it in one transfer anyway. So, and I didn't want to move anything else when I figured there was a possibility that Diaz might not even play. That would have made me sick.
Yeah.
So Diaz in when they play Manchester United. Then what I want to do to get Bruno back in, I sell Jamie Vardy on that Thursday when Manchester United play Sheffield United. And the way I've manoeuvred the transfers, I've got 0.1 available to get that done. That's what I'll be left with. And then I want to attack Chelsea on that. Is it a Thursday they play you?
They play Chelsea, West Ham is a Thursday. Yes.
Yeah. I know it's a Monday. Sorry.
Monday. Sorry.
It's a Monday.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
It's a Monday, match week 14. I want to attack Chelsea then. I don't know what I want to do with that yet. Because I think it could be, I might have injury issues, illness, loads of complications, but I know I will buy a Chelsea player then. I've penciled it in as Bruno to someone, is the way I've penciled it in. And then back again for Bruno when United play Wolves on the Tuesday in match week 16. So I'm potentially coming on and off Bruno twice. On that occasion, the Bruno fixture, I would miss this Leicester away.
Right.
So that's what I've got planned in wise, but that's going to change because problems are going to come up.
Of
So that would
course.
leave me the Tuesday of match week 16. What's that? Just after Christmas, isn't it? I'd be left at 24 transfers at that stage if I go Chelsea on and off.
Right.
When I go Bruno to Vardy, I'll have 26 left. What I like about the manoeuvring of the Bruno to Salah, Vardy to Bruno is he's looking at the captaincy for all the fixtures we've got now. After Leeds play West Ham on that Friday, Bruno, KDB and Salah, between the three of them, cover every captaincy bar one game, which is the Chelsea entry point. And that's it. Now, at some point over these games, no doubt they're probably going to get rotated, which is another reason why I'd like the fullback option of Diaz. I like that I've got the defensive Liverpool coverage as well, which is my big differential going into this period, basically. So KDB, Bruno, Salah, from the day after Leeds play West Ham, covers you, as far as the fixtures go, each game day except one. Going to be popular. And this is what I spoke about weeks ago, that over this period coming up, we would not need to stress about, oh, I need this player from Brighton or whatever. Yeah, look, Monday night, it's a good one to potentially get. I think the fact that it's a Monday means that there's entry points. You could, for example, go to Southampton, then you've got Sheffield United on the Sunday, Arsenal on the Wednesday, and then you can escape back to Manchester United or Aston Villa on the Thursday, for example.
Yeah.
Brighton, same. Southampton, Leicester, and then Fulham before you make the similar escape the next day. You can obviously hold them on for one more. I mean, Southampton play Man City on the Saturday. So if you hold for one more fixture, there's loads of escapes from then. I think there's probably 12 teams you can escape to. So there's different options of what you want to do. I just think Romeo's going to cover me off. He's going to end up sitting there for a little while for me. I don't particularly like it. I don't really want a player like that in my Sky team. But it opens up the doors to fit in the pieces.
Yeah, I disagree with you in that. Like, if I had Stuart Dallas and Stuart Dallas was at his price 4 points every week or whatever, you end up inevitably just taking somebody that averages 3 or 4 points, and you can't have a team of 11 players that are constantly returning. I've got enough money. Like Grealish to Antonio was a really interesting move for me on Saturday before the Manchester United game. I don't think I've seen enough from him to justify that move. And I actually have enough money to go Grealish to Ruben Diaz. And if I do make that move on the Saturday, then I get Fulham, Manchester United and West Brom. And I really would hope that Manchester City would be able to keep clean sheets against Fulham and West Brom.
So I take it you'd be left with Romeo, De Bruyne, Fernandes, would you?
Yes.
In midfield. Yeah, cool.
Yes. Romeo, De Bruyne, Fernandes. And then I can move from Fernandes to Salah on the Sunday. If I did make that move, then I would captain Salah. But it leaves Sterling lingering around in my squad. And he has been a bad smell that just, I keep thinking he's going to come good. He's going to come good. He's going to come good and hasn't. To further down the line, like in the way that you're talking about sacrificing Vardy for Fernandes to go back to him in match week 13 on the Thursday, I might keep Salah and sacrifice Sterling at that point and go back to him. But I can't do it on that day because they've got Fulham following match weeks. It's a bit of a...
You ain't set in Salah for this period. I mean, because even after the Tottenham game...
Sterling, you mean?
Sorry. No, I'm saying you ain't going to sell Salah. Sterling, no. Yeah, potentially. Salah, you're not.
But Salah I would have sold after the Palace, after the, where are we? I'm looking here, Tottenham game, and gone to Bruno on
after Liverpool played Tottenham, it's Palace, West Brom, Newcastle. Forget the layout of the fixtures. It's not really the time to be getting rid of it.
No, wasting a transfer.
We go through trends in this game. Think back to the overhaul period. It was like, all these brilliant midfielders between 8 and 9 million. And here we are, sort of 6 game weeks on going, I needed to find a crap midfielder to enable me other things. Where it's become, I've got to get them passing tiers at the back, the Gabriels, the Diaz's, the Zumas, whatever. The next one will be the premium forwards. Like, oh my God, I need to have Salah, Kane and Aguero or whatever, just hypothetically. Sure. That'll be the next fad in 3 or 4 weeks. I've got to have 3 premium forwards. Fuck all this Bamford DCL stuff and all that. That'll be the next one.
If I make the Grealish to Ruben Diaz move on the Saturday, I'll have 5 at the back, James, which will be Diaz, Robertson, Dallas, Gabriel and Zuma, but all capable of 8, 9, 10 pointers in any given week. So it might end up being a little bit of a differential in terms of playing a 5-3-2, which will then move
The
to
problem with
4.
that system is you just feel like you get stuck a little bit.
Yeah, I
That's
know
the
exactly what
issue.
you're saying, but I know my outs.
Because I mean, there was
should,
one plan I looked at, and it was like, fuck, I've got a day there where it's 5-4-1. I can't do it. It's part of the reason for having to get Romeo in on Sundays to avoid this sort of problem.
Yep. Let's look at some of the questions we've had on Twitter, shall we? Now that I have been released from my suspension, thank you, Twitter police.
By the way, I think best captaincy Monday, if I could just say, Che Adams.
Okay.
It would be the best shout.
Yeah. I ended up, because of the price differential, sticking with Romeo, but I agree with you. It could be a really good shout, Che Adams. But yeah, James, I've been released from my Twitter prison, and I'm allowed to tweet and retweet and all that kind of stuff again.
A lot of the Sky listeners aren't going to get that.
No, if you didn't listen to the main podcast yesterday, first badge of honor, I got suspended on Twitter for 12 hours. Second badge of honor is going to be getting blocked by Donald Trump. And then I don't know what my third badge of honor is going to be on Twitter.
Just tell the Sky listeners very briefly why you got banned from Twitter.
Because our good friend Luke from Scout, Disable, some people may know his Twitter handle as, but it's FFScout_Luke, put a tweet out on Saturday saying that when he was watching the City game, he was going to have all eyes on Kevin De Bruyne. And I said, I've got him captain. I hope he shoots on sight, which Twitter thought I meant he probably was going to shoot people, and said it was a violation of their terms and conditions using a phrase shoot on sight, and blocked me for 12 hours of doing stuff like tweeting, liking people.
Literally staggering.
All I could do was DM people, and that was it. And I never DM people anyway. So there we go. Let's do these Twitter questions because I can read them now. Peter Brown. Hello, Peter. Is Ward-Prowse a good option going forward? It enables a Bruno to Salah 3-for-1.
I mean, if it enables that, yeah, potentially. I guess you might be making that move. Are you going Bruno to Ward-Prowse on the Monday? Is that possibly the thinking? I don't hate it. He's obviously 8 million. If you're going to go straight back, then yeah, I don't hate it. It's okay. Mine's become a bit more complex as a chain move because of trying to work in Salah, right? But yeah, if you want to do that for a 3-for-1, I don't hate it. Ward-Prowse would be one of the better shouts for the weekend. I mean, he has decent ownership. A fifth of the game owns him. Just under 10%, the top 1,000. It'll be slightly over that come Monday night, I'm sure. Be one of the better choices. The thing with JWP is it's either feast or famine a little bit, right?
It is, yeah.
So, I mean, I know he's had passing tier in the Wolves and Newcastle games where he obviously didn't score, and he had a tackle tier against Newcastle as well. You have to factor with those two teams. What do? They let you have the ball a lot. So is he going to hit passing tiers against Brighton? I'd find that extremely unlikely, for example. Tackle tiers actually probably just as likely, same as with Romeo rather than the passing tiers. But it's okay if you're going to go for 3 games, miss Bruno against City. It's fine. You just need to know what you're doing with the captaincy for that Saturday. So, I mean, to be honest, at the moment, with me selling Bruno, I'd just captain KDB at Manchester United the way it stands now on that Saturday. The other games that week, Wolves Villa. I could go Grealish is an alternative, but I don't like captaining the player against Wolves particularly, unless it's from one of the elite teams. West Brom against Newcastle, no thanks. Everton Chelsea, I won't have any coverage for. So that's it. So probably that Saturday, I'm just going to have like Grealish and De Bruyne basically. So I think I would just stick it on De Bruyne against Manchester United. It's probably the way I'm going to go.
Barry Johnson, is now a good time to cut Dominic Calvert-Lewin loose, given that Everton's next 10 fixtures are difficult? He also notes it's relevant for both games, but specifically for Sky. Kelvin was asking if there were any good 3-for-1s or 4-for-2s to get rid of Dominic Calvert-Lewin as in terms of exit points so that you can potentially get a fixture game.
The thing is, if you're exiting, you're exiting. There are good entry points for Calvert-Lewin because obviously it's Saturday this week, the following Saturday against Everton, then even the Tuesday. I'm looking at the wrong fucking fixtures here, aren't I? Saturday against Chelsea, then there's a Wednesday against Leicester, then a Saturday against Arsenal, and then even beyond that. So there isn't a re-entry point. If you come off, you are staying off. The other thing so I'm going to sell him this weekend, basically. The other thing just to note is you person who's asked the question is saying he's got a bad 10 fixtures. There's no point looking any further than that. Yeah. You can look at game week 17, and I've got a hypothetical of where those games will fall. Like, for example, I think there's a good possibility that Man City Chelsea will land on New Year's Day on the Friday. But beyond that, we genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. It's a waste of time looking at Premier League's match week 18, 19, because we know half of them fixtures are going to move.
Yeah.
It literally pointless looking beyond the one extra fixture of the schedule January the 2nd at the moment. No point, because it might fall and you go, oh shit, DCL is so important for them 2 games now, the way it falls. I don't know if they have sort of Wednesday, Saturday and you can dive in and off someone, for example. So I don't look at the next 7 game weeks at the most. No point looking any further.
Lee Williams says that, what are the opinions on bringing in Mondi for Martinez in goal and then keeping Grealish throughout? It provides a guaranteed starter for captaincy at the end of December, but then you lose out on a 3-for-1 offer off Tottenham, keeping Grealish.
Yeah, I would just look at that and go, so if you go Mendy, you're obviously getting 3 games of Chelsea, which would be Leeds, Everton, Wolves. And for Villa, before they play West Ham on that Monday, Villa also play 3 times, which are Wolves, Burnley and West Brom. Which one do I want? Do I want that Mendy run or do I want the Martinez run, actually?
Yep.
I'd probably rather still have Martinez, actually. So it might be that you want to hold off that, I think, 0.7 between them and make that move when Chelsea play West Ham. But yes, it's viable to do it now. All I'm saying is, actually, the gain might not be as obvious as it looks. Again, if your plan wasn't to sell Martinez to Mendy this weekend in the first place, don't do it.
Right. Seasons keepers. Again, we've answered this, but let's just clarify it in the answer to the question. What's your opinion on moving Grealish on if the game isn't moved to midweek? We spoke on our show game in Wolves in a period where you can get 3 fixtures for most other teams prior to Villa versus Burnley, but interested to know how you feel. I'm going to be moving him on, and I think at the moment the way it looks is Ruben Diaz. Diaz versus Fulham and West Brom, and then the United fixture in the middle.
Are you going to go back
to Grealish?
Yeah.
Yes, but it might not be by selling Ruben Diaz. So it might be a daisy chain. I could sell Gabriel or someone else at that point, and I might stick with Ruben Diaz. So, yeah.
Okay, that's the thing. Particularly with Grealish, that Burnley fixture on the Thursday is going to come around. You're going to think, shit, I want him back.
I want him back. No doubt about that. I definitely want him back.
I mean, captaincy that night would be interesting. It's not for a few weeks, but obviously Grealish playing Burnley and Bruno playing Sheffield United. Because of Grealish's ownership, might not be as straightforward and clear cut as you might think. Actually, it might be quite split. Although I think Bruno would probably still get the favouritism on it. Yeah, you just need to be conscious of that. I can't emphasise enough. If you had no intention of selling him anyway this weekend, if the game was happening, you shouldn't sell him. What's the plan? What are you doing if you say, I'm getting 3 games of James Ward-Prowse? I mean, it's an example where I've said, yeah, okay, over Bruno Fernandes, it's fine. Over Grealish is fine. Personally, that sort of thing doesn't appeal to me so much. I guess you obviously get a captaincy out of it as well. So it feels a little bit more like a 4-for-1, which makes it more viable. I get that. But no, I think it's reasonable to move on Grealish or Bruno, one of them probably this week. I don't know if it's never occurred to me that, I need to get the 3-for-1 on both of these here. And the priority is to manoeuvre Salah. Therefore, for me, the bigger money has to get moved around, which means losing Bruno against City.
Sam Betts, is bringing in Aguero too much of a risk at this moment in time? Very tempted due to City's next few games. Cheers, lads. I don't have any desire to. Anyone that I don't know is not going to be playing. I mean, we never know with City. That's the thing. But no.
I would be surprised if he played more than sort of 20 minutes per game before they play West Brom on that Tuesday. And they might think that's an entry point. Okay, we'll start him tonight, for example. But I can't see it starts against Fulham at the weekend, personally. He's just not really had enough involvement. Even like last night in the Champions League, nowhere to be seen. So, no, you ain't going to... It's not one where you're going to see the team or anything. And I think even if he did play, he'd only play an hour. So, no.
We've got FPL Dempsey. How do you plan on handling captaincy around the Christmas period with rotation unavoidable for most teams? Pick the perceived best captain for the day or wait for the early lineups and play it safe? Any thoughts around that, James?
Well, you can't just go for the early lineups.
No, because some of the games are not.
Shit, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's certain ones where, like Leicester Man United's an early kick, the first kickoff of a certain day. And I think you think, okay, yeah, great. I've got confirmation that Bruno's going to play, for example. Leeds Burnley the following Sunday. I mean, take that one. Leeds Burnley match week 15. On the Sunday, Leeds Burnley is a 12 o'clock kickoff. Liverpool playing West Brom, you're going to captain a Leeds player because you know he's playing.
Stuart Dallas, obviously.
Right. So you can't just go down the early
ain't
kickoff route,
happening.
for example. So look, it's going to happen. What you got to remember is if we get burnt where, let's say that day, Salah's the best captaincy against West Brom and we all captain him and he doesn't play, probably all going to be in it together because he's going to be massively owned, for example. So it's not as, that fallout is not as worse as the fallout of you don't captain him and he gets that 3 or 4, for example. That's worse.
Correct.
So you just swim with it in most cases. Right now, I've got, obviously, Robertson probably unavailable this weekend. It's doubtful at the moment, but I've obviously definitely got Martinez and Grealish out. So right now, I know I've got 9 players this weekend. Now, I'm buying 2 that's going to make it 11. But then the original plan was it was going to be 13. My plan hasn't changed in any way because the Villa game's on or off. But coming up, we're going to have game weeks where players aren't going to play. I've had that with Joel Matip last week. We've now got it with the Villa players. There's other weeks where players, City, it's obvious. There's going to be a game where De Bruyne doesn't play.
You're just not going to get it right every time. So I think if you get it right 80% of the time, it's good enough, if you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, just take it on the chin, I think. You can be clever clogs about it, and do you know what? There'll be an occasion where it works, but there'll be a lot of occasions it won't. What I would say is, if there's obvious ones, there'll be a lot of teams that got, say, KDB and Diaz. If you've got doubts and you think Diaz is definitely going to play because he's been rested for the last one and KDB hasn't, for example, then going Diaz as a captaincy is very reasonable. Like if someone prefers going Diaz over KDB this week, it's viable if that's what you feel. When the Manchester United game comes around on Saturday week, I might actually decide to put the armband on Diaz rather than KDB, for example. So having the fullback option from the same team's not a bad thing. Again, this is what I spoke about. We won't need the coverage from 11 teams over this period. Technically, and you need coverage of 4. After that Leeds West Ham game's gone.
We've got Michael Neve here. Given the amount of games in such a small space of time, rotation and injury, he'll be playing from a safety perspective. And then following Christmas and New Year's, I'm going to target an attack around the best transfers in January to overhaul. I mean, pick your style. He said KDB this weekend versus Sterling is a good example. What are your thoughts? Well, I've got no thoughts because I'm on both of them. But if I owned both, or if
you're not going to captain Sterling over KDB
no chance.
This week. Exactly.
No chance. Exactly. No chance. I mean, we talked about it on this infamous phone call on Saturday morning where I said I was going to captain Sterling, and then the fact that he'd played in midweek in the Champions League just made me think, you know what, it's not worth the risk. It's not worth the risk, and in the end, obviously, it's paid out.
If you want my instinct, Sterling probably does start on Saturday. By the way,
yeah.
But it's not worth it.
Not worth it. No. Kelvin, as a fellow Gaeta holder, are you looking to move him on following the release of the fixtures? And if so, who for? I've replaced him in one team with Meslier, but kept him in the other. What are your thoughts? Talk to about Martinez.
I've obviously bought Martinez, which I wouldn't have done, but in hindsight,
if you'd have known the fixture was postponed,
but then if I hadn't bought Martinez as part of the plan, because he's obviously 6.3 and quite cheap, I wouldn't have been able to afford those upcoming moves with Bruno, Vardy, and Salah, for example. So he's part of the plan. It is what it is. I think if you're still on Gaeta now, McCarthy is your only option.
Yeah.
Genuinely. McCarthy Monday, put the armband on him, forget about it.
Hornet, SkyFF _ Hornet. Is Diaz still a transfer this weekend despite the Champions League lineup? Set and forget and accept Pep rotation. Diaz could be the highest scoring player of the season, I guess. Well,
possible.
I don't know if
no. That's possible.
So?
Yeah, it's possible. Because them tiers, if he's getting 10s, you think of it like this, Suj.
Yeah, 380 points is a lot.
If they was to keep 20 clean sheets across the season, he gets 10 points in all of them. We ain't even factor in the odd goal it will get, for example.
Sure.
200 points.
Yeah. He's going to do all right.
Yeah. It's possible. What was Van Dijk was the most last year, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'm going to buy Diaz, regardless. Whether he played last night or not, I'm still going to go in for him. Because once I buy him, I'm going to hold him for 3 weeks anyway. So
your move was Grealish to Diaz this Saturday anyway, right?
Correct.
It's fine. Crack on, mate.
Grealish to Antonio, but no, I've changed my mind following what I saw on Monday night. Paul McNulty, this is quite a big question, James, so perhaps we'll rework it. But if you were given an overhaul,
I'm nervous.
If you were given an overhaul before this week's matches kicked off, how would your team look? I'd basically try and find Paul's team in one of the leagues and just copy it, because Paul is a far superior Sky manager to us.
It wouldn't look hugely different.
Yeah, me neither. I mean,
the
goal. Yeah.
The one for me that is Robertson. Having now gone down that Matip route, Robertson's kind of a fall off that I can come off at any time if I walk into problems and I need to go to a premium mid or back to a Calvert-Lewin or a Danny Ings or something like that. It's a fallback option. I can't get round my head at the moment the idea that nobody else is on double Liverpool defensive. If somebody else out there is on Robertson and Matip right now, or Robertson and Alisson, for example, he's injured now as well, by the way.
Please subscribe to James's support group.
Let me know. Let me know. At some point, something differential somewhere has to define how you're going to go and try and win this game. And this is it now for me. Liverpool defensively over December is basically it. I really don't want to come off Robertson. I want to leave him and Matip there because I believe they'll keep 4 or 5 clean sheets over this period, and the opposition they're playing, there will be passing tiers as well. But if I was doing an overhaul again, I probably wouldn't have Robertson in it. But I don't want to get rid of him. I'm so loath to get rid of him, honestly. I think it's a great little differential for me over this period. To answer Paul's question, it wouldn't be many changes, actually.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm working my way towards a fairly decent structure for my squad now. Phantom Mantle also, I think, needs a support group, James.
Okay,
I feel like this question needs some music underneath it.
I can edit that in on the audio if you want.
Yeah, let's do it. If your friend had completely messed up and gone Kane to Zaha to Sterling, 0 appearances and 2 transfers, I can feel the violins in the background.
Yeah.
Would you advise to go back to Kane on Sunday or wait to see if Ings starts on Monday? And he has no other players on Monday.
A difficult one, because I'm tempted to say, if you're on Sterling, you might want to swim with it, because he'll have a game. It's almost certain he'll have a game in December where he goes off. Almost certain. Problem is, you probably won't have the armband on him at the time either, though.
No. Selling Sterling before West Brom United and Fulham. There's 3.
When you're making the decision, was the question to go to Ings on Monday?
The question was, would you go back to Kane on Sunday?
Yeah.
Or to Ings on Monday?
Well,
I don't think if he starts.
I don't think Ings will
start.
Go to
Adams obviously on Monday.
Yeah. I don't think Ings will start. That's why I say Adams is the best choice for Monday. I know there's a chance that he might be available, even if he starts. What condition is he in? Is he going to play more than an hour or so? It's not ideal. Don't buy Danny Ings on Monday, I don't think. Even if he looks the best choice, I wouldn't particularly advise that.
Yeah.
What you got to do is when you're making a move like that, if you're considering Sterling to whatever, and I don't think Kane's probably not the answer, actually. I think you can live, because of what I said about Bruno, KDB and Salah, I think you can probably live without Harry Kane till probably all the way to the Fulham game on the Wednesday in match week 16. What you have to do is, when you're making the decision, though, you can't think about what's gone.
Yeah.
You can only look about what it is now. So you can't look back with a regret. You can only look at what's next. Does Harry Kane outscore Raheem Sterling over that whole period that I've said? Probably yes. He's also going to cost you more money. So what happens to the other 0.7 once you've spent it? Is that going to ruin something else in your plan? I'd be quite tempted not to bother with Brighton Southampton and keep him to at least the West Brom game on that Tuesday and then reassess.
You've got a question here from Ron Mintz at Sky FF. Very quick answer, James. For those without coverage, Brighton versus Southampton, single game day, must cover or skip?
You can skip it.
One
of the reasons I think you can skip it is as well. I mean, if I said to you now, predict the score, Suj. We haven't discussed this.
No, I think 2-1 Southampton, maybe.
Right, but genuinely, maybe. That's exactly what I would have gone for. 2-1 Southampton or 1-1.
Yeah. It's
so invariably,
no clean sheets.
To be honest, yeah. So I think you can, without Danny Ings, if Danny Ings had been playing and he was fit, you'd say, "Ooh, I want a piece of that," especially with them playing Sheffield United afterwards. And then nice escape routes, be it the Arsenal game or the Man City game, or even the Fulham game, which is the Saturday in the match week 15. So that's the one tempter with Southampton. There are good exit points. I think Brighton are not an option, personally. If you're going in on Monday, it is Southampton. If you're sitting there with Lamptey, Ben White, any of these, they're all fine to cover you, by the way. But I think in terms of entry, Southampton is what you want to go to on Monday. McCarthy, Vestergaard, Romeo, Ward-Prowse, Che Adams, all reasonable because they're escape options. But can you skip it? Yeah, I think so.
Benny Blanco, I think you're probably fed up with my questions now, James. He starts, but never.
This guy's in my DMs every fucking day, sometimes at 4:00 in the morning, by the way. Hi, Ben.
But we love Benny. I bought Martinez in prior to the West Ham game, same as you did. Would you now hold or look to move him for a potential short-term gain now that the Newcastle fixture is postponed? You're holding.
I've got no goalkeeper this game week. Simple as that. Move on.
And the last question goes to Ian Parron, and I'm going to give you an analogy for this question. Ian asking us and me a question about fixtures.
It's like Ben Crellin asking me about FPL. It's like, what the fuck?
No, it's worse. It's like Maradona asking me to teach him to do kick-ups. Come on, mate. You can't be doing this. Short and sweet this week, guys. Do you expect all 3 postponed fixtures to be played before the second overhaul? Now, it's tricky for 2 reasons. We don't know when the second overhaul is. So I would have said yes. I think they're not going to want a fixture build-up because we don't know how many more issues we're going to have with COVID and postponements in the few weeks and months coming ahead. So they're going to want to get them played as soon as possible. And I feel like the clubs will want to get them played as soon as possible as well to avoid fixture pile-up. So I'd probably say yes.
But with the Villa-Newcastle fixtures, no issue. It literally is no issue. It could be the midweek in match week 33. Like it just doesn't matter, right? So for me, because of that, I think say it had been Villa City postponed this week. I mean that doesn't work. So got Champions League, but say it was a free week
and their game.
Then I think well. there would be. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's going to be more the priority and another way to rearrange and probably find a way in January is for the City Villa game rather than the Villa Newcastle game, for example.
Right.
But City have obviously always got the fallback of those Champions League dates because they're spread over the last 16 spread over 4 midweeks. So we know UEFA don't like it, but they're going to accept at this stage. If City and Villa play each other at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday or something, it will be what it will be, right? That's the end of it. It will happen.
Yeah, I don't know about that 6 o'clock on a Wednesday with fans being allowed in now.
I think
have to do at 8 o'clock or something.
I'm going to work on
fans is stupid.
Villa, listen, there ain't going to be more than a couple of thousand if it's January, I don't think, mate. I'm afraid to say. Fingers crossed, but yeah. I don't think the game will be next Tuesday or Wednesday. That's when it would be. It's literally, they're the only 2 days between now and 2021 they could be, next Tuesday, Wednesday. Newcastle's training ground closed to Friday. I can't see it happening. The earliest then it happens, like I said, is the first midweek after match week 17. If Newcastle lose to Brentford in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals. Now, those Cup quarterfinals aren't till the midweek before Christmas. Now, it can still get rearranged and thrown in, but in terms of your planning, the honest truth is you're not going to know for a little while.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not buying any Newcastle assets anyway. And from Villa point of view, we're likely to have Grealish coverage for the majority of players over that time anyway. So
the other reason I particularly don't want to sell Grealish or Martinez this week is I think it's extremely unlikely that the game will be Tuesday, Wednesday. And I also think it's extremely unlikely that we would get an announcement on Saturday night saying the game is Wednesday. But it's possible.
That might be the title of this show. And we've been through all of the questions.
I think I'm right in saying as well, Villa wouldn't have fans at the moment. Am I right in saying that? I'm 99% sure
I'm not
that's
sure
right.
if Birmingham is tier 3.
I think they are at the moment. Right. So we wouldn't have to worry about that, the 2,000 fans. They could just do it. I don't think it will happen, but I'm conscious. How would you feel? I'm sorry, I'm going to scare some people now. If you sell Grealish or Martinez on Saturday and then Saturday night you get an announcement the game's on Wednesday.
Chill. Because I'll have had Diaz. So if Diaz scores as many points...
Yeah, but then you're going to want the Villa 3-for-1, which would suddenly include the Wolves game.
I mean, look, I just cast my mind back to what happened in March earlier this year where we had the split game weeks. I completely set my overhaul team up for the first... And to be fair, I'd pissed about my transfer, so I had loads left.
Mistake.
But I'd set my team up for the first set of 5 fixtures or whatever it was, and then was planning to go all in. We had postponements all over the place, and everything went to pot. I'm sure it's going to happen, whatever. can't worry about it. If it's one fixture that I'm worried about that I've missed, then that's not going to make or break my season.
Chill and still. The chances of Villa and Newcastle being announced for midweek on Saturday night is probably less than 1%.
There we go. Almost, it's less likely than James getting a ticket for the Tottenham Arsenal game, which we now know that he doesn't. I still don't know if I have one for West Ham, but I can assume
you'll probably get an email at 2:00 on Saturday saying you're coming.
Yeah. I'll be waiting outside the stadium, mate.
Good lad.
If nothing else, I'll do a little bit of shopping in Westfield. Listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it as always, and are doing well with your Sky Fantasy Football teams. Do hit the notification bell wherever you are listening to the podcast, whether it's on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. Leave us a little review, all of that kind of good stuff. And on top of that, of course, if you are in need of extra FPL Sky football content, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. We're releasing a ton of podcasts over the Christmas period to keep you entertained and up to date. And we do release some Sky Extra Time podcasts as well, where we deep dive a little bit more into the fixtures.
And you can get my spreadsheet.
Of course, yeah, that's another advantage.
I mean, it might be as good as Ian's, but you'd have to be there to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Big shout out to Ian's Hub spreadsheet quality.
Nice. As always, wherever you may be, if it is tier 2, tier 3, stay safe, please. And ciao for now.
Good luck, everyone. Cue music, please, man, Charles.